Hello guys, today I will be covering JavaScript toolkits, or some authors call them frameworks, which I don't think is correct. In any case, I'm using a nice picture of a toolbox because those are really tools, not a framework. They don't give you the structure of the application, but they give you different easy ways to do usually things which are very difficult to do with bare hands. If you remember, the last time I was talking about JavaScript and the comparison with ninjutsu, we stepped on the ninja's path. So ninjas can fight with bare hands, and I show you the techniques for remoting, DOM manipulation, and dynamic behavior. Now I will show you, here it is, the picture of the ninja, just to help you to recall what we were talking the last time. So instead of bare hands, we are gonna use toolkits. Here it is, some of the techniques I showed you. I showed you objects, functions, DOM manipulation, remoting, and dynamic behavior. But this can be done much easier using these toolkits, which I will be talking about this lection. Okay, so this is a lection for absolute beginners. Absolute beginners to the libraries or toolkits, as they call it. If you have knowledge already, you can skip this lection. So I will make an overview first, and we'll start from there. I don't pretend that I mentioned all of the toolkits. Some of them are not even toolkits, but I want to mention these topics. Those are the topics I think personally are important. The first toolkit is Dojo. The next one, which I will be covering, is Jquery. Dojo and Jquery I will be covering in the next lections. For the rest of the toolkits, I just will speak briefly right now, and I'm not gonna cover them. Prototype, it's another toolkit or library. MooTools is another library based on Prototype. Why I don't like Prototype? Because they actually add different properties to the native objects classes predefined already internally in JavaScript, and we know that right now in power is the ECMAScript 5, ES5. And what happens if the next, for example, standard, or even this standard, defines different properties, and these properties are exactly the same like the properties which Prototype defines? Prototype should change, or they should stop working, because they will overwrite different properties which should exist in the native JavaScript. In any case, let's continue. MooTools is short from My Object Oriented Tools. Let me see what I have prepared. MooTools, a compact and modular JavaScript framework best known for its visual effects and transitions. I have to mention here Scriptaculous as well, which is based on the Prototype. YUI is the Yahoo user interface library. It's a very good one. Dojo, YUI, XJS. Actually, they're giving you utilities and tools which allow you to build a very complicated applications. The same with the Jquery. I'm not saying that you cannot do that with other libraries, using other libraries, or even bare JavaScript. But these libraries which I mentioned, there's a Dojo, YUI, and XJS, are giving you more tools for that. So YUI library, a set of utilities and controls for building rich interactive web applications using techniques such as DOM scripting, dynamic HTML, and Ajax. Here it is, XJS, a library that extends prototype, jQuery, and YUI until version 1.0, since version 1.1 a standalone Ajax framework. I have to mention something very interesting. Dojo has another project which is called Lucid. Lucid project is web OS or browser OS. Let me start zoom it, so if I have to draw something or zoom it, I can do that. Okay, so let's look at for Lucid. I think it's called Lucid desktop.org or something. If I cannot find it this way, I will make a search in Google. I just want to show you that. It's a very, very interesting project. It's based on Dojo. Based on Dojo, and it looks like a native desktop operating system. It looks like KDE or GNOME. Here we go. Lucid Desktop, WebOS open source. It's a very, very nice. On the server side, they started to use Python, as far as I know, and this is the moment I stopped following them. Before they were using PHP, and they were planning to use Zen framework, but as I said, they decided to use Python, and I stopped following them. Let's look at the demo. I just want to show you that how with JavaScript libraries you can build a desktop. It's quite interesting. This window. Yeah, it loads. Logging in. I hope that will work. If not, I'll show you another one. I think this is a very, very interesting project and could be eventually the future of the rich internet applications, or HTML5 application as they call it right now. I would imagine having, for example, here small icons like drives, and they will represent my Google Drive, for example, my SkyDrive, which is Microsoft Drive, Cloud Drive of Amazon, or iCloud, and I can browse my files there, and also if it launches, you'll see that there are other applications. Unfortunately, right now I cannot show it to you because, as you can see, it doesn't load for some reason. I don't think this project is very, very active. October 29, 2012, this is the last block. So in any case, here it is, screenshots. Ubuntu, Lucid Desktop. Those are different themes. GNOME. This is what I wanted to show you, actually, how it looks. Okay, so with Dojo and the digits you can build such thing. Another interesting project, as I mentioned, is XJS. Let's search for XJS desktop. Here we go, sample application. Here it is. It looks like a Windows, almost. Look, and all this is built using the library, this XJS library. Lucid actually every 100 milliseconds hits the server to check for events. You can start a grid Here it is, one example application. Accordion window, another application, and it's using the widgets created in the different in those libraries. Okay, so I have to mention Backbone as well, JS, because slowly but surely it's taking off. It offers an MVC for JavaScript applications, loosely based on model view controller application design pattern, and Node.js. This is not for the client side. It's server-side JavaScript, or IO, for V8. V8 is the JavaScript engine, the Google JavaScript engine. This is my node, IO for V8. Node.js is a platform built on Chrome's JavaScript runtime for easily building fast, scalable network applications. Node.js uses an event-driven, non-blocking I/O model that makes it lightweight and efficient, perfect for data-intensive, real-time applications that run across distributed devices. So the idea is not to use PHP or Python or something else on the server side, but instead run Node.js and use even the same library which you like for the front side, for the client side, and build your application on the server side. So one language to unite all of them, JavaScript. Okay, this is the overview of the libraries. As I said, some can say that it's not completed. Yes, it's not completed. I don't pretend that I cover all of the libraries. I'm just mentioning the libraries which I think are important, the toolkits which I think are important. So Backbone.js looks some kind of a framework, but not in the same way and sense. For example, like Zen Framework 2 for the PHP world. But as I said, Node.js will change the world, because we will be doing server-side programming using the same tools which we use for the client side, for the browser, the same language, JavaScript. Okay, so let's now start with jQuery. As I said, those are toolkits, and when you do something, you have to bring your toolbox, and after that use it. In the HTML pages, how can we bring this toolbox to our HTML page? So let's get first this, and after that we'll talk further. Okay, so I'm still using the new thing, which I think is new for those lections, is I'm gonna use again the cloud-based web-based cloud IDE to demonstrate all of the concepts which I want to cover. So this is our familiar FMI project. I have created a folder called Stoyan Cheresharov. This will be only the folder here with a name compared to the folders created by Zen Framework 2. And inside I have a CSS, images, and JavaScript folders. Let's now create a new HTML document which we will use to demonstrate how to bring our toolkit, the box with the tools, to the HTML page. First, let's create the HTML page. New, and I will call this page Experiment HTML. I probably should call it jQuery. Okay, so Experiment jQuery. And as usual, the type, I'll tell the browser that this is HTML5. doctype HTML. Now HTML head title. This is experiment page for jQuery. In here I will put body, of course. Let's use h1 experiment for jQuery. Let's have fun. I made myself a cup of tea, so I'm ready for fun. And I'm using Cloud9 because I can immediately see the result of what I'm doing, compared to CodeNVY, where I cannot see it immediately, but we'll see that Cloud9 also has disadvantages. Preview. Here we go, experiment jQuery. And let's use the naming conventions of the files. So all the files will be named the same way. I'm gonna create a file in the CSS folder called experiment jQuery .css, and in JavaScript I'm not gonna create images. I'm gonna use the same, follow the same pattern, experiment jQuery.javascript. Okay, so we have everything necessary to start experimenting and playing around with jQuery. Not everything, but I'm gonna show you very shortly what are the ingredients of our meal. Okay, so now let's load this JavaScript and this CSS. So link, well, style sheet type. I don't think that's obligatory, but I'm gonna put it text CSS. So now we have href, and that's in folder CSS. We said this is called experiment jQuery.css. I can put here a title if I like, experiment jQuery. Can mention the media, screen. I'm closing that. Okay, so I'm gonna start right now the development tools on Chrome by pressing Ctrl-Shift-I, or probably on the Macintosh will be Apple-Shift-I, to see how that works. Refresh. Let's make sure that the CSS file gets loaded. Network. Let's see here. I actually will stay on the console, and just as a proof I will define a style for h1. I will say color red for h1. Let me check. Yes, I have a h1. So all the elements h1 should become red. No. CSS experiment jQuery CSS link rel type CSS. Okay, title, media, screen. I don't see anything wrong, but if it's not working, that's not working. The CSS, where I am, yeah, I'm here. jQuery CSS. Probably some of the viewers already notice where the problem is. Refresh, rename. Just let me copy and here make sure that everything is fine. Probably I haven't saved this, so let me see. No. Let me look at something instead of wasting my time and your time. Just a second. I have already jQuery BG here. Style sheet. Okay, I'm gonna copy this. Oops. Because I'm sure that that works. We'll see the error. CSS. Here we go. Experiment jQuery. Off. H1. Here it is where the error is. Of course, we don't have a class called H. So everything was correct in the HTML file. In the CSS file I made a mistake. Sorry about that. Experiment jQuery. Show you where I made the mistake. That's good actually. Here it is. It should be the HTML tag, not class. The way I define it was like a class. Okay, so let's see now. Yeah. Okay, so our CSS, it's loading. Gets loaded. Now, first I want to show you something. Now, the way we can use jQuery to bring jQuery to our toolbox, to our page, is to use by using CDN, Content Delivery Network, or we can have, of course, the jQuery locally installed somewhere here in the folders, and we can load it from there. First, let's try with the CDN. Let's go to jQuery website. jQuery. Here we go. Let's say download, and we will see the two options. The first one is to download jQuery. Here we go. Using jQuery CDN. Okay, let's try to load it this way while we are using Cloud9, and I'm gonna show you what's gonna happen now. Okay, so in order to use jQuery, as I said, we have to load it. We have to bring our toolkit, the box with the tools, and this is what jQuery says. Using jQuery CDN provided by media template. So copy and paste this simply in your HTML page. But look at now what's gonna happen here in the console. Save it, and I'm gonna refresh. Look now. Blocked. The page HTTPS Cloud9 blah 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 has blocked run insecure content from code. Look this, which means we actually cannot use the CDN, Content Delivery Network, here in Cloud9. Our way to use it is to deploy it to Heroku, for example, and try again to load the page. But here in the integrated development environment of Cloud9 we cannot use it. So this is what I wanted to mention. If you're gonna use Cloud9, you have to locally install jQuery, and this is exactly what I'm gonna do right now. Okay, so as you can see, we cannot use CDN, which is it's not big disadvantage, but it's some kind of a disadvantage. Fortunately, I noticed that I have already in public the folder created by Zen Framework 2, public JavaScript. I have already jQuery 17.2 min, min, which is the small. It's compressed already. very small file, so that's why it's called min. So minimized. So this is what I'm gonna use actually, and as I said, I already had this selection, so I will use it directly here. By the way, I'm putting the JavaScript in the head, but the recommendation in Yahoo is to put it here somewhere before the closing tag body. So probably I will move it, or just keep this in mind. Public JavaScript jQuery minimum text JavaScript. Okay, so as you can see, I commented my attempt to load jQuery from the CDN, Content Distribution Networks, and this is how I'm gonna use it right now. So I would recommend, if you wanna use Cloud9, just come here, then download the compressed production jQuery, or download this one. Download the compressed production jQuery 191. Actually, I'm gonna do it right away and put it there in my folder public, so everybody can use it, can use the latest version. So save link as. I'm gonna put it on the desktop. Minimized version jQuery. Okay, I have it. And for this example, for this tutorial, probably I'm gonna use this one. Now I can upload this file. I will keep them here in JS because I can use it for the Zen Framework 2 project as well. Right now we diverted a little bit from Zen Framework. We were talking about JavaScript, but we'll put everything together shortly within the next tutorials. So upload to this folder. They support drag and drop. So here it is, jQuery. I'm dragging, dropping, and eventually I should have it here. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. So what I'm gonna use is 1.9, jQuery 1.9 minimized, and let's reload again the page. So this is how you get your toolkit to the HTML page, and now you can use it. But before we do that, let me talk a little bit about jQuery. So what is a jQuery and how it's used? jQuery offers a fluent interface and method chaining. We'll see in a second what that means. An expressive syntax, CSS selectors for referring to elements in the document. If you remember, when I was talking about the JavaScript with bare hands, if you want to call it this way, I was trying to access different HTML elements, DOM elements actually, not HTML elements, and I was trying to do different manipulation over them, and this was a little bit painful. And what jQuery offers is tools to do this very simple. Intro. JavaScript has an intentionally simple core API. By the way, the snippets of text are taken from David Flanagan, which I respect very much, from his book With the Rhino, and he has a chapter about jQuery, so I have to give him a credit. So let's continue. JavaScript has an intentional small core API and an overlay complicated client side API that is married by major incompatibilities between browsers. Okay, so you understand what that means. Actually, JavaScript as a language is a very simple language. Not very simple, but it's a relatively simple language. And what makes it more complicated is the object window which the browser builds. Each browser has is building a different object window, and there are a lot of incompatibilities between these objects, between the different browsers. And this is the curse for front-end engineering, actually, because we have to deal with all these incompatibilities. jQuery makes it easy to find the elements of a document that you care about and then manipulate those elements by adding content, editing HTML attributes and CSS properties, defining event handlers, and performing animations. It also has AJAX utilities for dynamically making HTML requests and general purpose utility functions for working with objects and arrays. As I said, using the libraries or toolkits, those toolkits, is not obligatory. You can use them on will. You can do all these things by bare hands. You can use core JavaScript to do all this, but jQuery just makes it a little bit easier. And not only jQuery, Dojo and Prototype, Mutus, all of these toolkits. Jquery Basics. Okay, let's look at the Jquery Basics. The Jquery library defines a single global function named Jquery and $sign as a shortcut for it. That's it. Jquery defines only one global function, one global object, if you want to call it this way. It pollutes very little the global namespace, only with one global object, and this object happens to be a function. This single global function with two names is the central query function for jQuery. Here it is, one example. var diffs $diff. Right now I cannot demonstrate that because actually I can demonstrate that. So let me create a JavaScript file with the same name as our HTML, which is called experiment jQuery.javascript. And let's open it. I want to attract your attention on something. First, the Doom tree should be built before we start manipulating the elements of this Doom tree. And when the Doom tree, when the Doom is built, actually, after the meeting of the event, after the event onload. So let me do that. Let me demonstrate function. I'm using a closure not to pollute the global namespace. Eventually, by chance, I don't want to give a chance to myself to pollute. And now window is a global object created by the browser. Onload is a standard event, and here I'm creating one event handler or callback. It's a function. It receives one parameter, which is the event object. Right now I'm doing a bare hand programming. I'm using only the JavaScript objects. Later I will replace that and show you how to use jQuery for that. I just want to show you the first example. var diffs. This is how can we get a node list of nodes of all diff elements. Okay, let me create one diff element here, and let's put here this is a diff element. As I said, I'm not using the full potential of jQuery right now. I'm just selecting and let's say alert diffs, and I'm gonna address the first diff. I'm gonna put like that because the returned value will be array of all diff elements on the page. So let's see what happens now. Nothing. Yeah, because I have to load the script, of course. And my script is in folder JavaScript, and it's called experiment jQuery JavaScript, type JavaScript. Okay, so let's refresh now. Again, nothing. Script JavaScript, experiment jQuery JavaScript. Let's see what the problem is. Window unload function. Everything looks correct to me, but let me check again. Experiment jQuery JavaScript, experiment jQuery JavaScript, type text JavaScript script. Okay, come on, work. No, it doesn't work. Let me make sure first that this file gets loaded. Alert. Hello. No, the file is not loaded. Did I misspell it somehow? Okay. Script source, JavaScript, experiment jQuery underscore jQuery JS. Is it saved? Yes, it is saved. Alert. The console doesn't give me any errors, so let's load it. No, I'm not getting the alert. Experiment jQuery. Okay. Type text JavaScript script. Let's see where the... Oh, here we go. Cut. jQuery shouldn't be here. Of course, it should be in Stoyan. Paste. Here we go. Now, unable to rename. Why is that? Let me see here. jQuery. Okay, let me see now. Get document session does not exist. This should never happen. Wow. JS exp jQuery JS not found. Let me open this document again in Stoyan. Experiment jQuery. See, very strange message. Document session does not exist. This should never happen. Strange, really strange. If I have to, I will create it again. So again, the same message. Probably I should reload the IDE. Let me see if if the document has been, here we go, I will delete it from here, I don't need it, in public, the folder which has been created especially for Zen Framework 2, not for JavaScript right now. Experiment Jquery, okay. Experiment Jquery. Experiment Jquery. Wow, it doesn't load. Anyway, let me refresh and see what happens. Hola, supermercado. Telebancos por aquí. It speaks, Cloud9 obviously speaks Spanish. And of course, let me see now. Experiment Jquery CSS, this is what I'm interested. And the file, of course, doesn't exist, but we'll recreate it. It's not such a big deal. Experiment Dojo, experiment Jquery. No, the file doesn't exist. Let me see here in the public. JavaScript, experiment Jquery. At least it exists there, so I'm just gonna copy this, come here, and create again the file. Experiment jquery.javascript. See how the IDE is not mature yet, but I'm willing to follow them and use them because it's very promising. Preview. Hello. Perfect. Okay, so finally we work. And sorry about that, but it's actually good because you see how I discovered the problem. Okay, so now I'm gonna demonstrate the use of jQuery. As you can see, I'm using jQuery on wheel. Right now I'm gonna use it just to select all the div elements on the HTML page on the Doom tree. And I will show you shortly how to use it more extensively everywhere. Okay, so object HTML div element, as you can see, that's it. Now let's continue further. We spent too much time on that. jQuery is a factory function rather than a constructor. If you remember the last time we were talking about the functions constructors, and we said that if we're gonna use the function constructor with the new operator, we should start with the capital letter. Intentionally, probably jQuery starts with small j, just to emphasize the fact that is not used with the operator new. It should be used as a function factory. It produces different objects. It returns a newly created object but is not used with the new keyword. Okay, so here it is another example. P details. Let me create that. Let me show you this example. Alert. We don't need this alert anymore. Of course, we don't have P right now. Paragraph, we'll create it, and this paragraph doesn't have a class attached to it, details. We will do that. Show fast. Okay, so I'm gonna comment the alert, and what I'm gonna do is, let me move it here. Now I'm gonna create one paragraph, and I'm gonna use a class called details. Come on, I want everything to be ordered this way. Okay, so I'm gonna say p details, for example, and I'm gonna say color blue. Details color blue. Element P details is overqualified. Just use details. Okay, it's overqualified. Class details, and I'll say I'm a detail. Notice in the CSS I simply says color blue, but where this yellow background comes from the jQuery. So here it is how jQuery is used. This is the alias of the jQuery function. We set a CSS selector. In this case, jQuery just returns an array of elements, nodes, and we say CSS background color yellow, show fast. Okay. So let's continue further. Method changing idiom is common in jQuery programming. Method chaining idiom. You see how the first method, the first function, returns an object, and we execute the next method in the context of this object. But click, for example, here. Oops, that's not a very good example. Here, this is a bad example. See, P details is a P element which gets returned, and the CSS function is executed in its context, and after that it returns again the same object, probably augmented with different properties, more properties eventually, and after that show is again executed in the context of this element. This is called method chaining. Okay, I already showed you how to obtain jQuery. I show you the first method just by downloading and using it. So now let's talk about the jQuery function. The jQuery function can be called on 4 different ways. $function $execute is to pass a CSS selector. So the first way to use the jQuery function or $function is to pass a CSS selector. Already we have seen that already here. This is a CSS selector. The second way to invoke $function is to pass an element or document or window object. In this case, what happens is the function returns the same object augmented by new properties, simply wraps the element, document or window in a jQuery object and return that object. The third way to invoke $function is to pass it a string to HTML text. In this case, when you do this, jQuery creates the HTML element or elements described by that text, and then returns a jQuery object representing those elements. And the fourth way, finally, the fourth way to invoke jQuery function is to pass a function to it. If you do this, the function you pass will be invoked when the document has been loaded and the DOM is ready to be manipulated. In other words, we don't have to use window on load. We can use again jQuery function. So let's do that. I just will comment this, copy. Now I'm gonna demonstrate it this way. Instead of doing this, window on load, I just can say $function, and here I'll define the callback, and I'll do the same. It's extremely convenient thing. So you have to remember 4 things. The 4 ways the function could be called. Okay, let's leave this alert diffs. Let's see that nothing has been changed on the page. Let's notice how the page looks right now, and after the change we will see that nothing has changed actually. Here we go. Okay, so we're not using bare JavaScript anyway, if you want to call it this way. We're not fighting with bare hands. We're using the JavaScript, the jQuery tools to do that. To attach an event listener on load event, we actually use the jQuery function. The jQuery library also uses the jQuery function as its namespace. Yeah. Actually, this is just a note. What that means? That means that John Resig, the JavaScript wunderkind who created the jQuery, has used only one global variable called jQuery to create the jQuery library as a namespace. It's only jQuery and $. Actually, $, after that equals jQuery. Let's see now the warnings. Assigned to undeclared variable. If I say var, probably I'll avoid one of the problems. Undeclared variable. Okay. Like that. The ID doesn't allow me to make mistakes. So this is how it works actually. This is what John Resig did. And of course, this is not an object, and actually John Resig defined, instead of object, he has created a function which is also object. We don't have to forget that the functions are first-class objects. jQuery. Okay, so this is how jQuery can be defined, for example. Okay, let's see what else do I have to say in this lection. Body length, yeah, jQuery, I'm not gonna talk about that. jQuery getting getters and setters. Okay, so getters and setting HTML attributes. Here it's demonstrated how you can set and get HTML attributes of different elements. If you provide the function attribute with only one argument, this is a getter. It's going to return the value. If you provide 2, it's a setter. The same for CSS attributes, getting and setting HTML form values, getting and setting element content. This is how you change the content. Okay, so let's demonstrate this. I'm gonna change right now the content of the paragraph with the class details. I'll say text, and here I'll put a text changed by jQuery. Oops, sorry, jQuery. Changed by jQuery. Okay, so this is how we do manipulation, how we replace different elements. We can of course look at in the altering document structure, but I'm not gonna get into details about that. You always can look at the help and see how to do that. So I will stop with this lecture right now. I show it to you how to get jQuery on the page and how to start using it. you just use the jQuery and set and pass as parameter, as argument, a function, anonymous function. And inside of this anonymous function you can use again jQuery, and jQuery has a 4 ways to be used. We are demonstrating here 2 of them. We're using the CSS selectors to get different elements, and I'm showing also how to use jQuery function by passing as an argument another function which will be used when the document is loaded. I think this is the most important thing for starting to use jQuery. This article is not article but tutorial is for absolute beginners, so I will stop here and let you read the help and just enjoy experimenting with jQuery. Thank you for your attention. See you very soon. Bye.